Welcome to LaTB, the only podcast that comes with a free Bandits bonus.
Express delivery included.
LaTB, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the LaTB podcast.
Welcome back, episode 204, the Mourning After, and oh, what a morning it was out of Brazil. If you guys ain't watching, you're missing out because there was plot twists, there was turns, I was hanging on by the edge of my seat. But before we get into that hell of a breakdown, if you aren't noticing here, we're taking it to the next level. Look at the fancy new gear. We try and let us know what you like, what you don't like about it. Definitely what you like, and maybe some fun interaction we can end up putting in with you guys.
Yeah, so for the audio listeners, which is like 90% of our audience, if you ever want to lean onto the YouTube, or if you're never understanding something that we're talking about verbally, we're going to try to implement a television in so we can take different segments of videos or at least photos, especially when Emmanuel's trying to do a breakdown on something very specifically on what he's trying to highlight or low light about a fighter. He can put it up on the screen. So for those of you that are visually impacted, you can tune in to our YouTube, which, I'm sorry, we are trying to show it a little more love. I feel like if you look at the studio, it looks like way better than the OG videos, but
Hey, these renovations don't come easy. It costs a little bit of money, it costs a little bit of time to get it all figured out, but hey, we coming at you and still having breakdowns. Betting wise last night, it was a fun one. Not as profitable as I wanted it to be, but hey, there was underdogs for days.
I have to be honest. And I'm going to be honest with our audience because I try to be, and I also find that the more honest we are, the more audience we get. So in my honesty, I did not win on one card.
I was in the money until the main event. I went heavy on Rose if you're following the show.
Oh my gosh.
It was brutal.
I did not win. It was not a good night for me.
Yep.
I was wrong everywhere. Everything I leaned into, it really just, there's no such thing as a rule in MMA. There's no such thing. We try to, I live my life by trying to create a rule, so it's like stick with what you know, but it did not prove like a night for that. It did not prove like a night that Brazilians don't win in Brazil. If this was the first MMA match you ever saw and you based the rest of your life on this, you would never think Brazilians win at home.
True. It was, the judges did fairly well, though. The refs were doing a pretty good calls. Loved the crowd early on in the night. But there was just some MMA magic going on. Because there was things that you can't plan for. You can't plan for your knee buckling or going. You can't plan for so many other things. It was, though, as we were saying, one of the issues one of the fighters had.
And I think the audience probably does too. You're like me, I'm like, you can't plan for your knee buckling or getting slammed on your head. You're like, I'm not giving away a fucking ending of the movie right in the breakdown of the fucking first sentence. Like, our fans probably appreciate that, too. It's like the Game of Thrones shit that we just drop.
Just all of a sudden, I cut to the end.
Yeah. But you didn't have to know it was that. If you didn't watch, I wouldn't have given anything away. You only know if you know.
For sure. And we'll eventually get there. But it was one of those things that we were talking about on the fight card as far as fighters.
But I think there's other stuff we actually have to talk about. It's worthy of talking about.
Oh, for sure.
Before we get there.
But I was just going to say, as our prediction real quick, I was saying, hey, some of these fighters don't get their bags. They have issues getting there. Jared Cannonier, being one of those guys who didn't have his gear, mouthpiece, or training gear until 2 days before the fight, 3 days. So just saying, these are things that do matter when you're traveling at times, and it does affect him. Eventually, we know for him it all worked out. But all in all, it was a fun night of fights all over.
Know.
True.
Some people might not know. They might be listening to LaTB being like, I can't wait to hear the ending of these fights.
That's why we letting you know. So before we get into all that, it was a fun night of fights all over. A day of fights, I would say. There was all sorts of Russian leagues. There was a Bellator card that we didn't even touch into. We were all steady, knee deep into this Brazilian card, but there was a couple profile matches, and it was Pitbull versus Chandler, the other Pitbull brother. That was a quick knockout in about a minute. I know you saw the gifts flying around there. Michael Chandler was done. I know people were saying early stoppage. To me, it looked like he was pretty hurt. It looked like he curled over.
I was kind of one of those people that leaned that way the first few times that I saw it, where I was like, oh, that was early stoppage. Because then I followed the action, which if you follow the action after the knockdown and it was stopped, then you follow Lima on his way out. But it took me till like the third or fourth time to watch it to stay on Chandler. And if you stay on Chandler, he's not getting up. There's a lot of celebration that happens that Chandler's still on the mat, and that allowed, like, I reeled my opinion in about it, that I was like, it was the right call to make. That as a good ref. Good ref. But wow, what a fight. That was so...
A minute? I mean, how long did it go? 2 minutes? It was an early one, but that was just like... You always say
the lesser Lima and other Lima waivers, and here it's just like, this Lima is fire. No, not talking about him. I know you don't mean him when you're talking about... Okay. Yeah. I thought he was one of the Limas of the lesser elite, because the two brothers. The other brother in the UFC is the lesser Lima. Yeah, I know that. Yeah. But it's like, even when because most of the time we break down UFC fights, so usually you talk about him, and I always kind of feel like he's a 6 fighter, 7 fighter. I don't ever hate on him, so it's like weird calling him the lesser of something. And then when you see this Lima brother fight, you're like, oh, I understand why he's the lesser Lima.
Yeah, exactly. His brother is definitely a fire. He was out there against Michael Venom Page, MVP himself, getting in there with an actual high-level competitor.
And that is what I was talking about with the stuff we had to get into.
Oh, but we do have to get into this, because this was also one of the most brutal knockouts we've seen in a while. It had all sorts of hype to it. I'm surprised we didn't talk about this, but the Bellator reign, they're just doing such iffy fights, and one of them we didn't talk about was that Jack Hager versus the meat worker, the guy who was literally 1-1 and all sorts of fat, literally just overweight. And then Jack Hager, actually, a butcher. I guess he works in a meat factory, so not really a butcher. But Hager held on to that triangle choke for a good over 5-6 seconds, where Joey Beltran, the ref that we like here, big old handlebar mustache guy, actually was like, let go, and split him up and was like, get over there. Is he the guy
with the braided?
Yeah.
Okay.
Big old handlebar. Joey Beltran. Love the man. Good Instagram. I really recommend it. But Hager really leaning into the heelness of being just, a douchebag, because obviously he was going to win. He didn't have to hold on to submission. Everybody was okay, but that was also another highlight, not including Michael Venom Page turning into a puddle of mud all in that canvas, having Lima then land some hammer fist that didn't need to land, but the leg kick started it out, sweeped out Michael Venom Page's legs, and then an uppercut that it looked like only the two front knuckles, the two knuckles landed on the edge of his chin, but he went full on trash bag out the window. Like
he spread out like Frogger to me.
Yeah.
He spread out like
fully limp noodles.
Flat.
He was out. Night. What I absolutely loved about that knockout is I remember Michael Venom Page making fun of a few UFC fighters. I don't remember who it was specifically, but him saying, maybe it was Uriah Hall, and he's like trying to do the Uriah Hall, like on chicken legs that he got knocked out, and then he like fakes falling down. Now you got your own dance, Michael Venom Page. Now you got your own dance. It's called going lit. What? It's called death dropping.
It happened to everyone at this level.
Exactly. And that's why you don't talk shit on that level.
Yeah.
It's because it can happen to you.
But that's still not what I'm even talking about yet.
Well, let's get into what you're talking about.
To me, the biggest news that happened, I almost couldn't even pay attention last night. I felt like my energy dropped out of the room when I found out that it is official. In Chicago, in a month away, Cowboy Cerrone versus Tony MF El Kukui Ferguson.
Is that official, though?
It is official.
I saw a tweet that was then deleted, supposedly earlier by Tiefer, that he was saying, I don't know what people are talking about.
I thought it was not only official, that it was not even the main event on the card. And if you look at that UFC Chicago card, it is thick.
Super thick.
It is thick.
Ultra thick.
They giving that old mob card that real.
She got that Hillary Duff thickness.
Hillary Clinton thickness.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I ain't about that. I ain't talking about that.
Hillary Clinton was Al Capone's lawyer.
Oh, or her dad Clinton. I totally agree with that. But I'm just saying, look at those Duff pictures. She looking all sorts of good lately.
The weird part about the bad pick of that, like out of the two Disney girls, I remember when they were coming of age, the Hillary Duff and what was that other girl? The Miley Cyrus. I always thought Duffster is my girl. I think Duffster's the cuter girl. And Miley has turned that now. Like, now you're like, they aren't even on the same level.
I like them both for their own qualities, but I will say with Miley Cyrus, she is one of our vocalists of our generation. Like, she literally can sing.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I mean. She's taken it up where she's like an A-list celebrity, whereas like Hillary Duff's like Christina Cavallari from The Hills or whatever that.
I just feel like though with all those vocals, she's got that Hank Hill butt. Like I can't get down with that with Miley Cyrus. I'm just like, if you're built like a plank, I don't know, not for me. That I'm more much that Hillary Duff style.
I'm not even talking about get down on.
Oh, okay, that's what I was talking about. I thought you were talking about Get Your Hair.
That level of things, like with Hillary, where she's at now, just compared to Miley, it's like. But there was a time that Hillary was the bigger broad.
True.
See, and this is why you guys listen to LaTB. Because we go deep. We go deep.
We do go deep.
So that, and then there's also, that one I heard is official for UFC Chicago.
I love it though, by the way.
Which is a month away. And that's crazy. The thing that I heard that's not, which we kind of, I feel like we murmured about it on the last show, but the thing that I heard is not official, but they started talking about it last night or the night before, Nate Diaz versus Pettis.
I have been also hearing that they've verbally agreed where I'm like, that don't even count. If you Twitter agree to something, both of you guys, like get out of here. Show the contract signed or don't even talk about it. They're just creating all sorts of unnecessary
even if it's signed,
right.
Does that excite you?
I think when it's Diaz at all in general, I want to see him. At what weight would it be, 55?
I'm guessing. I don't know.
Because Pettis only looked good at 70, I'm just saying. So I'm not that excited for it, honestly.
It's not even close to Cowboy.
Oh, not even in the same breath. It's like Miley Cyrus, Hillary Duff.
True. That is so true. That is exactly, and that's a full turnaround. We don't even need to go any further. We can start breaking down the card.
We had a 12-card bout officially post weigh-ins. We had Betch Gohea come in 5 pounds overweight. You know how most of those fighters have been winning. For me, didn't really matter just because we know how that Betch does things. So still ended up playing against her. But what also ended up happening was that there was a late replacement after our breakdown. Vienna Aruzio from 115er ended up coming in for Gatto, who was already a replacement for Bernardo. Against Tatiana Bernardo, and that fight ended up being on like 2 days short notice, and we had a debuting fighter that we didn't even break down. Honestly, I didn't even go look into the tape because I've been so busy, I didn't have time. I just saw Trujillo Ferreira's out, and then all of a sudden I'm like, what? Gatto's not in here too? What the hell's going on? What is happening?
I honestly have to say, I was so glad I was leaning back thinking, #stay away. I'm so glad I listened to the LaTB rules. I was even patting myself on the back far too early in the night.
Definitely. Araujo came in at, again, 115 pounds, but at 135, her debut in the UFC, she looked like she belonged more so than Bernardo did at 135. Bernardo's thick, slow, and her gas tank really hasn't showed out. It really played later on into this fight. The 115er was bodied up. I mean, the fact that she makes 115 is amazing to me. We can end up blowing this up.
On press prelim.
Interesting. We are figuring this out as we go.
Look at this. Boom.
So we had such a fun one here, but Aurelio, if she stays in the division, if it's 25 or 15, she's going to be someone to deal with. Muay Thai on point, great head movement, moves forward. Everything I saw from her, I was like, again, it was Bernardo, but short notice. The fact that she did this, I like what I saw from her. I do think Bernardo needs to get on out of here, though. That's 3 in a row for her at 35, especially against the 115er. There's no reason for her to stick around. I like what I saw from Araujo. That's someone at any division is going to be hard to deal with. The level of competition is still fairly low. What'd you take away from this one? I agree, though.
On that short notice to come in at this level and perform like she did, I felt like she had Bernardo on her heels running from her by the end of the fight, and she just looked better everywhere, even cardio to come in on this short of a notice and look good. It makes me want to stay far, far away from Bernardo. I'm glad I stayed far, far away from her on this fight. Not that it mattered by the end of the night, but I still agree with you. I think Rugio, she's somebody, Vivian. I think she's somebody, Vivi. I think she's somebody to watch going forward.
Totally
This
agree.
is a pressure player, and you can't train hard, people. You can't train hard.
All I gotta say, well, there is though a little bit of a LaTB conspiracy that I gotta throw out there is that she's only fighting out of Brazil with those Brazilian
That's
doctors.
true as long as she keeps fighting out of
Yeah,
Brazil.
exactly.
I'm gonna get down like that.
Because I'm like, get USADA on her case. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. She was just looking all sorts of thick in there. Moving on to 135 pounds, we had Ronnie Barcelos, the heaviest favorite of the night, come in against debuting Carlos Hachin, El Perro Malo himself. TKO round number 2, 4 minutes, 50 seconds. This one, people are saying was a little bit early, but I mean, the fight really was Barcelos the entire time. There wasn't a point in time that Hachin looked like he did land a few good shots. It's a good southpaw. Was saying I like this tape, but against Barcelos, just this guy's way too good. It's really interesting that they even gave him this high of or Barcelos this low, but it was also a replacement fight. So I think Hachin, though, at 135 pounds, looks good. I think he can beat other guys. We got to remember how high a level Barcelos is going to turn into. So all of a sudden, the more Barcelos wins, the less bad this looks. And again, I thought this was a little bit early. I didn't think Hachin was all the way out of it, but he was getting pummeled. I mean, it ended up in side half control, and Barcelos was just landing hammer fist nonstop. The ref came in, but I saw defense there. He wasn't out. He wasn't Rose Namajunas out. He wasn't all sorts of Nogueira type of out. But
I think this is small of us with us here and talking about it. We should be able to put up some slight videos on here and be able to drag them forward and backward.
In time.
Things are going to happen, you guys.
Oh, you guys.
Things are happening right now. Change is occurring.
But what do you take away from the biggest favorite of the night coming through with the finish?
Barcelos looked good everywhere, and for me, I was like, don't stop it. Even though I had him, he's one of those few guys that he will overcome the deficit of the amount of points he gets for round closure. So I was like, let it go to the third. This guy's slaying it in points. Like, he was just doing so good, laying out so many punches, and he was winning everywhere without really being in danger anywhere, that I was like, I didn't care if it continued. So sure, short stoppage. It was one of the very few great decisions I made throughout the night. So, and I had him on, I think I played 6 cards, and I had him on 5 of the 6 or 7 cards and had him on 6 of the 7. So I was that's not true, because there was also televised cards that came out.
Right.
And
he wasn't on those.
Yeah, he wasn't on those. But at the beginning, I was super happy. And one card, my highest price card, I changed everything, but I didn't see it, and I had Ferreira on it. That's what we're not talking about right now, which I'm glad I'm bringing it up. My highest price card had a big fat goose egg.
Oh my gosh!
Right when the night started, it
Brutal.
made me just not even want to watch.
Yeah, look, you don't even want to look at your DraftKings at that point.
It's like an amount I spent on a card that I
That's
never
absolutely
spent.
brutal. Do you know officially why Trinaldo versus Ferreira? Because they both weighed in and made weight
I
and
have
faced off.
zero idea.
I don't
actually
either.
did not know at all until you told me, and I was like, oh. I had Ferreira everywhere. I was riding him high.
Me
I thought he was
too.
a nasty
I actually
little...
split both of those guys up, but that did end up changing my cards somewhat. Same with that Gatto pick. Well, no, I didn't play Gatto at all. But either way, going back to the ladies at 125
Oh, wait, real
pounds.
quick. Barcelos, is he the only other Brazilian to win tonight?
No, I think there was a couple, 2, maybe 3.
But only if other Brazilians were fighting?
Right.
It was
It was
night
Brazilian
for
versus Brazilian
guys.
type of fight, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, on to 125.
So
what do you take away
Barcelos
from...
also, we're only going to watch him fight in Brazil, and he's still just the second fight of the night, so it is what it is.
We've seen him in America. I like where we're going with him. I think he needs by far a ranked opponent because he's definitely there. But like I'm saying with Hachin, I like this young man. I think that this loss is going to make him only better now that he understands the level of cardio he needs in there. And someone to not sleep on, I think. People are going to be surprised at that southpaw. He has better movement than I thought, and he has the growth right now as young as he is. What did you take away from the debuter?
Not the competition was such a gap that I didn't really see anything from him that made me exciting. So just his survival, as long as he does, the only thing I can take away, and that's really not enough right now. I need to see another fight from him.
Okay.
But at this level, give me him in another fight, probably around the same level, like on the second fight of the night or something.
Definitely agreed with that. On to 125 pounds, we had debuting Luna Carolina defeating Priscilla Cachoeira in a 3-round decision. This was absolutely sloppy. This was one of the worst fights of the night. One of the worst fights of the year, honestly. I know that they were moving at a high pace, throwing a lot of stuff out there, but as far as technically, skill-wise, this was something that almost made me throw my drink at the TV a few times. It was so bad. The fact that Carolina was literally just grabbing for a guillotine and jumping into guard and then able to get up when she wanted. She was throwing lead elbows with no arm or no guard in the back. Anybody with a 3-punch combination and a little bit of head movement is going to eat Carolina up in there. Anyone with a ground game is going to eat Carolina up. Cachoeira is probably one of the lowest levels we've ever seen in here, and I don't think Carolina's too many steps above. The fact that it was a cited 3-round decision, 2 to 3 rounds went to Carolina. The fact that it even went to decision, I did not like this fight. Do not watch this fight. Don't pay attention. I don't think that they're going to stay long.
Don't tell a friend.
Yeah, this is one to skip. This is
what I actually have to say. If Cachoeira goes forward and we see her fight anyone, know about her that she is a punching bag. She is hard to finish. Even no matter how many strikes, head kicks, she's hard to finish. She's not throwing a ton out there. I feel like Carolina might have been in danger maybe a half a second out of the whole fight. But also I don't know if it was Carolina has such low-level submission attempt IQ, or if Cachoeira that's the one thing she's okay at is getting out of submissions. Yeah. It was just time after time after time. So if Cachoeira fights again, know that her opponent is going to slay some points, which is a good thing to know going forward, just as a better. Like, anyone going against her, she's going to survive long enough for somebody to lay out a ton of punches and maybe really hard to get out of there. But now we're finding out that Max Holloway fighting style of you don't need a finish to get over 120 points.
Right.
That's good to know for DraftKings. I like what you're saying about Carolina, though. Even on this win, the fact that she couldn't finish Cachoeira is like, come on. Like,
Valentina could. Just saying.
Didn't they go to decision?
No. But no. It was a murder. There was people feeling bad for her. Like, why does the UFC do this? But with this fight, Carolina was about 89 points, 90 points she ended up scoring, but she was in that 8,900 for a debut. Again, I'm looking to probably fade either of these ones. Cachoeira on a 3-fight losing streak, though, hasn't won one yet. Do you think she gets her walking papers? Because I think it's time to get on out of here myself.
I normally I would, but in the women's division at these heavier levels, especially at the 125. No, I think you're right, because even if you look at somebody like Roxanne Modafferi, which was a mid to low level opponent coming into this division at one time, she has stepped up leaps and bounds and we've seen growth, whereas Cachoeira just is still, like I was saying, a punching bag. So I think you're right there. I think Carolina, let's see another fight from her. Cachoeira, get on out of here.
Time to go. Moving on to another one.
Anyone that's going to write us at lesboandthebean@gmail and send us something that it's like, oh, that's so sexist. I say those ladies and that fight was garbage and sloppy. We're moving into the next fight. So
if there's a time to get on out of here, it's at 155 pounds. We have BJ Penn coming in.
Oh my God.
Long time
either two of these guys going forward. Well, in this division,
Clay Guida still has beat a couple guys here and there. He still has a spotted record as far as the UFC in the last few fights. But the fact that BJ Penn is on a 7-8 fight losing streak, hasn't won a fight since 2010, it's just time to get on out of here. What else do we need to see?
I have to say the fact that Guida couldn't get BJ Penn out of there is all the more reason that he needs to get on out of there. These guys, I wish they both would have been like...
I mean, I still think, though, Clay Guida was the one pressing the action, but it's not hard to against someone who's just moving back after the first few minutes of the first round. BJ Penn is just, again, goes to himself, do we really need to break it down all that much? Clay Guida's going to come in against a young guy, eventually get finished. He still has that gas tank about him, but BJ, I mean... the best gif of this all was BJ Penn at the end of the third round going to the cage, and someone, I think Dave Madden, saying like, oh, this is BJ Penn's career. Him trying to rest in the MMA, bringing him back in, and that's the best thing of this fight. Other than that, I don't think you can really move forward with either one of these guys and be confident.
This fight made me so uncomfortable that instead I just want to talk about a technical thing real quick that I want to do. I'm going to just start making these.
Oh, I like them.
And then we'll just scroll through those as we go instead of going to Tapology. Because sometimes these pictures can be deceiving, especially for a guy like Shane Burgos. If you look at his picture, Shane Burgos is a world beater, and I love him going forward. But if you look at his picture, he looks like superhero level, like he's never going to be beat. There are certain guys that on these pictures, like, look at BJ Penn there.
Oh, I agree. He looks good. He looks
ready.
That's him before Diego Sanchez. Back in 2009, 2008.
My wife hated Clay Guida. And you always say about him, which I think mattered here, which it even made it even questionably close here where I was nervous for a second just because of the name of BJ Penn. That hair, every time BJ Penn landed, you could see it. Because you can see that hair all beat around. And so I was calling Guida the Muppet while we were watching him. He kind of reminded me of like Jim Hansen-y. And I want to see both guys out of there. The only Clay Guida being this heavy of a favorite is redunk. The fact that he couldn't finish BJ Penn at this level is kind of redunk, and I think it's dangerous. I think either guy going forward is a first-round knockout for somebody else.
Interesting. I don't know about Clay necessarily. Like I said, I think he still has, out of the two, more in the gas tank, but again, it's probably a fade out of there for those guys. At 170 pounds, we had two Brazilians coming in against each other. Do you think it ruins a legacy
like BJ Penn?
We said it before.
Yeah, and he is at a record now less than Lobov.
That's what's ruining his legacy and what people are remembering now. It's not all his classic battles. It's now, remember that 8-fight losing streak where he was getting almost finished by the people like Clay Guida? Like, that's what you remember, where you should be remembering splitting Diego Sanchez's face wide open with that gnarly head kick. So unfortunately for BJ Penn, he's got to stop. He's just got to take a rest. Drop. Yep, exactly. Go to submission.
One-up shop.
We've been telling you.
Oh, much like this next fight we're about to talk about.
At 170 pounds, we had two Brazilians come in. This is where the other Brazilian went throughout the night.
Before you even start talking, this fight you were dead on about, in my opinion.
Interesting.
I felt like Worley just outgrind and out-wrestled and shut down. Like, pretty much if you listen to the last episode, that's exactly what happened.
It was a fun one at 170. Worley Alves defeating Sergio Moraes in 4 minutes, 13 seconds of the third round. But I mean, this was never not Worley Alves' fight. Sergio Moraes pretty much stayed on the back foot after the second leg kick. You could see Moraes was having issues, and I liked how the commentators were like, Moraes has notable knee issues and isn't liking those. Told you guys. His knees have been
chewing his leg up.
Yep.
Meat grind.
Where he could barely move, couldn't throw strikes, and then when he wanted to get to the ground, he couldn't because Alves had a good enough takedown defense. But that uppercut that finished it in the third round was... I feel like Moraes has been knocked out like that before as well, where he just rolls flat out.
He actually froggered, where he just fell flat and
hips wide open.
His chest plate hit the front of the mat, and then his knees, the inside of his knees and chest, all were flat on the mat. That'll just give you an idea of how his body was.
It was definitely a brutal finish, but I don't know necessarily as much to break down other than Worley looked good in there, but again, it was against somebody who was 36 years old and has had a long career like Moraes. I think that Worley's still susceptible to that grindability Barberina style. If he's a front runner. If he's beating you up for 3 rounds, he can do that. But if you're pushing back on him, I think he really starts to, again, that third round slow down. So if he's a big favorite against a wrestler, be tentative on that. I'm just saying. That's what I really am.
Okay.
Really,
because it's hard for me to not jump on a heavy bandwagon. I feel like I've watched him kind of struggle the last couple of years, and he finally put it all together and did what he's strong at. He just looks so good. I know. I also think Moraes, if you're trying to build up Hall, like for whatever reason, that's his next fight. Moraes Hall.
Uriah Hall?
No. Who's the guy that just beat BJ Penn? Ryan Hall.
But Ryan Hall's 155 pounds, not 70.
Oh, okay. I still think that's a safe fight for him. Yeah, Moraes, I kind of fade him as well.
Yep, I would agree with that now.
But I like what I saw from Alves, and I also see what you're saying is don't jump on the bandwagon. It was Moraes.
Exactly. It's a little bit of both on that one. Moving on to 155 pounds, we had Thiago Moises coming in against Kurt Holloway. This was a 3-round decision. I ended up having a submission, but didn't come through. The slight favorite did come through.
Oh, it pulls up your record. I wonder if you could sign out from it.
Oh, and it says
unless
what we picked
you're
them.
like, I don't care.
Oh,
I don't
I'm
mind
not
everyone
worried about
seeing
it.
That's why they're here.
I picked 7 of 12 right, so above that 50%.
Oh, then you don't even mind. You're like, here, look at it.
I'm still
what?
plus.
What?
Still in the plus. It was just that main card.
I don't even know how many I got.
Woo, that main card for me was what really burned me up. But still, I got Moises as far as the right pick over Holloway. Holloway, surprising at how big of a man he is. He just really towers over guys. At 32 years old, he should be in his prime right now, but the 24-year-old Moises just really had his number everywhere, striking on the ground. And as this fight went on, Holloway was close to getting finished a couple times, and especially at that third round, Holloway just turtled over. If he would have done that 10, 20 seconds earlier, that would have been a TKO. So Holloway, it's probably time for his papers on out of here. He just can't compete here. He has a size, he has a technique.
I got 3 of 12.
Wow. That's rough.
That's embarrassing.
That's a rough one.
That's
Woo.
embarrassing.
Hey, everybody has a bad night. It's MMA. That's why we love this sport, because guess what? Next week, you can go 11 of 12, 11 of 13, or 13 of 13. It's the way it plays.
I just wrote my rules to and you know what? I went against there. I said, I don't think I'm going to go heavy in the paint on this card. And then I kind of went a little heavier than I would have liked.
Always tends to happen. But what did you end up taking away from this fight between Moises and Holloway?
I loved everything I saw from Moises, but I kind of felt about him the same way I felt about Cachoeira, where I just felt like, is Holloway a punching bag? Is he just a guy, like, he did not look great anywhere to me. He just got picked apart at every single angle. I was not excited about anything I saw, and so I really wanted to get super high, I'd be like, why don't you give me half O? Why don't you give me half O Moises? I would really like to get super high on that for a little while and put him in like one of those bongs that you crawl up on your roommate's bunk bed and you have to be like, lean it down. That's how I kind of feel about Moises, where he's the guy I wanted to ask you. Is he, you always talk about Nardiev. Is he in that Nardiev training? Did he look that good?
No.
Or we can't feel that way because it's Holloway?
We can't feel that way because it is Holloway.
I just was like, dang, could this kid be putting it together any better?
Holloway just has questionable fight IQ at times in there, and there was a lot of it throughout the night, but Holloway was one of those guys that I feel like he had a certain either combination or position working for him, and then he just completely would go what he was losing at again, but that's what Holloway tends to do. He just tends to get beat in every single little... I mean, he hurt Burgos and then got submitted. That's just... You can't hold on to Holloway too much. Again, I think it's probably time for him to step away from it, get a couple more wins. If not, keep on doing what you're doing. As we were saying, with a few of these guys, and we're going to keep bringing it up, it's time for them to get on out of here. Holloway might be one of those guys at 32. Did you happen to hear late breaking here, as via Mother's Day Sunday morning, Tom Duquesnoy officially retired at, I believe, his late 20s, early 30s? Duquesnoy was a hype train coming out of France and really had a mixed showing, I believe, going like 2-1 or 2-2 in the UFC at 135, 45 pounds. Did you see that news?
No, I didn't see the news, but, Duquesnoy is on this place with me like the Bone Crusher. He's like right there. I don't know if they started on the same card
around the same time.
Yep. But they're Diakesi.
Yep.
They're just kind of in this. Even the amount of hype given to them when they first came out of the gun, it was just like douche, like hype trains. Both of them shot out of the cannon, and both of them kind of fell flat. So.
Diakesi of late has looked good. Where
I would have liked to see Duquesnoy one more fight.
Right. Agreed.
That's a little bummer to me. But I wouldn't have noticed if you didn't tell me right now.
But one of the things I am going to say with this is what I really appreciate from Duquesnoy and what we always tend to bet against is if we find out these guys have full-time other jobs, that's where we're like, hey, we don't want to put our money on this guy because he's not committed. And Duke Watt specifically came out and said, I'm doing other professions right now, and I just don't feel like I can devote all of my time to MMA, so I'm going to choose to go
Smart.
another way. Right?
Smart.
I'm like, dude, you're saving some brain cells. And
it's not forever, especially at this level.
Exactly.
At
And you're a
this
UFC
level.
fighter for life. You fought in the UFC fighter for life. You're good, man. I just really like what I saw from him, and I think
big dookie.
a lot of other guys can
Enjoy
take
your
that route.
retirement. Stay retired. Please don't come back.
Exactly. I think Holloway could be in that boat. Unfortunately, as far as UFC, it's just nothing but tougher fights along the way for that
I just
young
don't
man.
like that mentality anymore. That Chuck Liddell mentality that Holloway represents to me of just that like, let's just get punched
Brawl.
where it's just, it just doesn't work at this level anymore. It's just getting further and further away. Like, you got to be a thinking man as well. You can't just be a tough man.
And even every brawler we've seen come into the sport as a brawler eventually turns into some sort of tactical striker because they're like, oh, these guys will put my lights out. Like, this ain't no joke.
Do you like everything you saw from Moises?
Everything I saw
do
from
too.
him.
God,
But again,
the guy
it's
looked good.
got to be a little
Next
tentative
fight,
on the
though,
hype
then
train.
maybe Nardiev.
And we'll see. Because Holloway ain't no Prazeres. That's why Nardiev looks so fucking dope. That's a Prazeres that you
but
know what it
Prazeres
is.
is like a dreadful 5 minutes and then just a ton of tired muscle.
He wasn't for years, though. He used to be 5 hard EPO rounds. Like, no joke.
Speaking of, now let's move into Minotauro.
Nogueira, Little Nog himself came in as
Is this Little Nog?
This is Little Nog.
Okay. I was like, is this Little Nog? Is
this
this Big Nog?
This is Minotauro Nogueira. He was the actual boxing credentials guy in there. He came in against Ryan Spann, one of the bigger favorites of the night. The 15-5 fighter came in as a minus 130 favorite. I had a decision with Spann. I was just hedging my bets a little bit because I do like the boxing of Nogueira, but we really saw when you're not fighting Sam Alvey sometimes that how you can get your punches going because Alvey tends to be such a counter striker. Spann didn't give him any time. Spann immediately came in and shot for a takedown. Actually took Minotauro right down, started moving, passing guard. Minotauro got up. They boxed it up a little bit more, and Spann came in with another shot. I feel like Minotauro blocked that shot, and then Spann just started throwing hands, and he was just way faster. Spann's striking is developing, but it is not high level. His ground game is still definitely his best game. Nogueira on the ground showed that he was a little bit iffy, but the fact that it was a knockout against Nogueira, I can't put that much stock into it as well, just because we've seen other people do it. Spann is definitely much more of a ground guy. Gonna be tentative on the hype for Spann, but he's gonna be probably like 9-3 against whoever he faces next, just because this was a first round finish, 2 minutes and 7 seconds.
I
into the
know,
fight.
it's almost not enough to be able to tell.
Exactly.
My hopes almost is that he goes against a guy that lost on his last fight by decision, and he's a huge hype train, so I can go with the other guy as the underdog. I can't believe I had Little Nog anywhere. Looking at his body, even at weigh-ins, I should have gotten completely off of it. But with Ferreira falling out, I didn't have him anywhere, but then I ended up putting him on some cards because I had to change some things around with some fallouts. Yeah, I wish I could get down on Ryan Spann, but I just was not impressed anything that I saw with Noriega.
So,
Nogueira, sorry.
I was just going to let that one go. But
Nogueira.
if you're
No,
not...
sometimes reading it is what F's me up.
I
Once
totally
I look at
agree.
it written word.
Totally agree. But if you are definitely haven't liked and subscribed in order to get all them picks and all that other good stuff, be sure you're following at Zoltanite, at Weakneck Baby, at Lesbo in the Bean, at LaTB on Instagram.
Does your
Be
phone
sure
do
to
it
follow
for
us.
the hardcore fans?
Ooh, look at that bitch.
Look at, we're just losing people.
Ooh. We're losing fans. Just like that. But if you're also needed, if it's already a little bit too late, a belated Mother's Day gift will always come through from that LatB15 from Lather & Company on Instagram. Be sure to get any and all purchases with that extra 15% off from LatB15 in the coupon code. Remember to shout it out. It helps us. Let us help you make amends for that late Mother's Day gift.
And what I was trying to think of another gift that we could say. Go to latherancompany.com and get a gift. What about if you just get a gift for yourself? If you're a lady or a dude out there, why don't you pamper yourself? You deserve it. You work hard. You put a roof over your pet's head, or put milk in your kid's mouth. You do things. You take people to. You put shirts on other people's backs. That's crazy stuff. You should go to latherandcompany.com. Take a bath. Take a shower. Make your skin soft. You know that, like, if you have old leather skin,
try it out.
You look like you've been kicking around flour. Maybe you need to put on some body frosting. Maybe you need to smell good. If you're somebody who likes floral, earthy, sweet, they have something there. Even if you're not going to buy anything at all, humor us. Go to latherandcompany.com and just put in LATB15 so you can remember the code and maybe go back later. But look at their website. It's super cool.
On to the pay-per-view.
Oh, wait, are they following you at Zoltanite? Are they following me at Weeknight Baby?
They should be, because I know we had bets.
You told them.
We know we give out bets. I think we did tell them. Opening up the pay-per-view, though, we had this fight move up because we had that Ferreira fight fall out on top of a few other ones.
I'm not only addicted to the fact that you can make it big and small, and whatever you make there, you make here. I think it would be super cool if you had a pin so you could do, like, play-by-play.
Oh, I do. There's time.
Like, if they flip over.
It's time. There's time. If people are thinking that we had time to really imagine what we could do with this, you don't understand how we do it at LATB. This was installed minutes before we went on air live and in charge. So
well, maybe it's nice when people support our sponsors.
Exactly.
Maybe things keep coming at you.
It's only going to keep getting better from this point on. We're always thinking about you guys. And this bitch came in 5 pounds overweight. Ended
5
up
pounds.
Didn't even try to cut. She was in there just.
Who's the last fighter? Who did Nardiev beat again?
Prajeris.
Isn't he the guy that would come in 5 pounds overweight?
Oh, like 8 or 9 pounds overweight nonstop. But that's why we always kept betting on this guy, on Prajeris as well. Where that's one of the rules. We're usually betting with them, but still. I just don't like the stylistic matchup. I actually ended up. I didn't put this out there, so I shouldn't be bragging about it. But I know. C over here saw it. I had a 3rd round inside the distance prop for Aldana, and it's just because Betch really wears in that 3rd round, especially after not making weight. I'm like, she didn't even try to cut. She wasn't on the road running. So we really saw 1st and 2nd round Irene Aldana. If you watch her Instagram, she's always putting in that cardio, and I don't think there was really a time. There was maybe one overhand right the entire fight that Betch Correia actually landed. And Aldana pretty much head on a swivel. Really liked her boxing in this one. Good takedown defense. But Betch Correia doesn't have the best takedown. So in the 3rd round, Betch was just really wearing it. She had all sorts of cuts in there. And how did this finish officially go?
I have to disagree with you. I felt like Betch would have got the dirty split, and she was actually winning on the scorecards everywhere, and she had more strikes up until the moment. I do think Aldana was taking over in the 3rd round, but the 1st and 2nd, I think Betch could have sneaked out, especially being hometown. I know I was almost going to pull up the numbers just now and see what they were, but I felt the people kept saying the fight metric, like, whoa, Betch is winning everywhere and I know we say the fight metric isn't the only thing, but
maybe I'm being a little biased because I was betting on Aldana as well, so I was like, oh yeah, she's definitely winning this fight. But I would agree. Here on the show, we broke it down and we said dirty split in Brazil because Betch does this and so does Aldana. They both go to split, and if this wouldn't have finished, I wouldn't have been surprised if Betch won this. If it went 29-28.
She took over in the 3rd round. I know.
So
I think
straight
I can go
overall
through
statistics, round by round.
Score. Round 2018, 2018, 2018.
Oh no, those are the actual scores
I know,
from
I'm trying
them.
to see who's for who.
The judges.
Maybe Aldana, maybe.
Interesting. The new stats that we'll end up getting, but overall,
Betch was at 41%, 81 of 196, and Irene Aldana was 83 of 247, and at 33%.
So Aldana threw 200 strikes to the 196 of Betch Correia, but she landed 3 strikes, literally more. Well, her strikes were landing a little bit harder. There was a couple of those combinations, I believe, in the 2nd round where Aldana threw a 3-punch combination, and Betch Correia's head did one of those whap, where her head shook back and rattled really hard. So
she was just eating kick.
Yeah.
Eating a kick.
Non-stop.
Eating a kick.
Out of the 2. Again, if this would have went to the scorecards, A dirty split wouldn't
surprise
surprise
me
me.
because we were in Brazil.
Yep.
And
Totally
the crowd
agree.
started to get into it. I think they started to lean the judges a little bit. I do agree with you. Aldana was totally chewing Betch up for that third round, but until that point, I thought it was too close to be comfortable about for somebody that had as much hype as Aldana going into this. Which makes
3-1 favorite.
Yeah, hey everyone, calm down.
I think you're making a great point here. And right. But she did, at a 3-1 favorite, finish her fighter, even though it would have. Yeah, I like what you're saying there. All right. Moving on to the
and
funner
because
one.
it's Betch too. Like
It
it's
is
like,
Betch. It is.
But
So,
it is a 5-pound heavy Betch, which is a little unfair. It's a different weight class Betch.
what a Betch. On to 170 pounds. We had Leonardo Strapoli coming in and defeating Thiago Alves in a 3-round decision. I had Alves a decision here. This is where my night really turned to shit. I got the first one wrong, had all the other ones right, and then I got these next all 4 of them wrong.
I'm going to say Staropoli's name 3 different ways while we talk about this ahead of time. But a funny part, did you notice at the point where the announcers got, because they have somebody repeat it in their ear how to say it, did you hear at the point where they felt comfortable saying his name that they all could not stop saying it?
Strapoli,
Yeah, it was just
I got it.
yeah,
You're gonna I can say it.
Which I would be the same way. Like, anyways.
Which, how'd you feel about the announcers, John Anik, Dominick Cruz, and DC Daniel Cormier being the 3 announcers in Brazil? I actually hated Dominick Cruz in it. I felt like he was just trying to instigate Daniel Cormier and feeding him lines like, hey, DC, you need to talk about this. And DC's just like, by the end of the night, like, hey, man, maybe I don't want to give away all my secrets. Like...
One of my favorite kind of restaurants, and I don't know if anybody else out there, and I don't even know if they have these kind of things, but there used to be these things in America called malls. And you used to go into these things, and they used to have, they would have the food court. Yeah, we all know. But there used to always be another restaurant inside malls that was a cafeteria style thing that you would like go in a long line and then go down where people would like hand you dishes of things. And they would have everything. You go and it got cold all the way to hot food. So you'd like first walk down and it'd be like salads. And then you'd get to a place and it'd be desserts. And then you get to a place and you work up to meat and vegetables and hot soups. And then whatever. You'd work your way out. And then where all the steam was, delicious bread, butter, simple. You paid for each item as it went. That kind of comfort and happiness is how I feel about Daniel Cormier doing the announcing.
I was waiting for it.
It reminds me of just that, like, very... It seems like, how can you put all together all this perfectly simple stuff and make such a complete happy meal?
I want to... I just want to say it is comfort food, soul food.
Yeah.
And Daniel Cormier, he is soul food. And take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, I will take an egg custard and a Salisbury steak. Yes, please.
Oh, I was going to say
egg.
a bucket of chicken and some gravy and mashed potatoes. That's what I feel like.
I wasn't going to get racist with that.
I don't think that's racist
cafeteria.
because he agrees with that. DC's
yeah,
one
but
of the
I
biggest
know, but
guys.
I was just staying with my cafeteria like idea of what I would order from the cafeteria that was like of those lines. Like, yes, give me that buttered biscuit that is so moist you can almost see water sitting on it. Maybe you even open it out of a plastic container and it's like, how did that steam get inside?
If you go to a chicken joint and by the time you get home you can see through the bag, that's a good chicken joint. Just throwing that out there. Fried chicken joint. If you can see through the bag by the time you get home, you eating good tonight.
The grease is just chewing through
Through that bag. That's my favorite, and that's soul food. I'm just saying.
Either way, Daniel Cormier reminds us of a happy, like in our belly, good food, getting down. Dominick Cruz, on the other hand, he's like
the tuna casserole. He's a lima bean soup.
He's like corned beef and cabbage.
Yeah.
Like you eat it and you're like,
it's hearty.
That's salty.
Yeah.
Like
it's good for you probably.
You're about to go on a moon landing and you're like, you don't even have to put water in it. Just give me the tang in a Ziploc bag with a spoon. I'll just eat the tang. Just give me the tang. That's kind of how I feel.
Good to know.
You guys can edit that and just have me saying eat the tang because that is good advice as well.
That is good advice.
Dominick Cruz, he bothered me more than I enjoyed him, but I just think Daniel Cormier is awesome.
Agreed. He deflected the punches really well, or the jabs as well, from Dominick Cruz, but there was times I feel like I could even hear DC just kind of be like, ha ha ha, like other guys don't like working with you.
Well, the other thing that I really liked about DC is and Dom for this matter. This is the one compliment I'll give Dom and the whole respect that I liked about both guys. They should be winning this fight. This fighter had at least 2 of those rounds. They should win this fight. I like Joe Rogan never does that. I loved that they were... It made it a little harder that if the fight was a robbery... Right. We all would have noticed. I like that they put their opinion that I'm like, I can agree with them on that.
Right.
Even though sometimes we feel like the announcers are biased, the judges shouldn't hear what the announcers say, but I do like that announcer puts their opinion on being ringside. So that is the one thing I did enjoy about both guys that they were talking about.
So, in going back to the one-sided decision in Strapoli, this was a fight that I really was surprised at the gas tank of Strapoli, and I think that was the biggest thing. I like his flashy kicks and punching style. He switches a ton in there, has a strong straight left hand in there, but we've seen him just gas a little bit, and he took care of that gas tank. I was just waiting, and I feel like the announcers were as well, for Strapoli to really start to slow down in there, and he never did. Alves as well really weathered that first round, really looked like he was waiting to get going in that second and third. I was predicting the same thing, but Strapoli just kept coming with those kicks and punches. He really, the minute or the second that Alves would try to come in with any type of offense, Strapoli was right back in his face with not a one-punch combination. It was 3-4 punches with a kick turned out in there, so... As far as a young man looking forward, this was a huge step up for him, and he passed with flying colors. I like what I see in there. Take down the fence as well. Alves took him down in the second round as well with a deep double leg takedown. Got him all the way down to the ground. Strapoli got right up to the cage, got up and out, and even threatened Alves with a few takedowns. And Alves is a great wrestler. So, again, Strapoli, for me, outblew his potential here. A lot of people were on this young man, and I wasn't. I thought, again, the veteran would come through. My eyes have changed. I think Strapoli is someone to definitely watch out for. The new breeds coming in and really taking over. These guys they're doing it. I like what I see from this welterweight. What'd you take away from this one overall?
This is one of those weird fights that, dare I say, that I'm like both guys as underdogs going forward. I think both are going to be sneaky little picks. I still think Thiago Alves has 1 or 2, and he's not going to be favorited, even fighting in Brazil, unless it's against somebody like really new blood again of this nature. Mm-hmm. But I like what you're saying about Strapoli, going in there 3 rounds with a guy like Thiago Alves in Brazil to be able to handle that kind of adrenaline spike and then dump, and then still go in there and have the cardio to hold up 3 rounds in this kind of grind. I like both guys going forward. I enjoyed this fight. It didn't bore me at all. They chant you're going to die.
Non-stop in there. That one definitely something you're going to have to get used to whenever you go in Brazil. I like that the announcers kept having to justify that. Did you hear them throughout the night?
Yeah, this is what they do. This is their thing.
Yeah, if you've ever seen MMA and it's had one Brazilian in the crowd.
It's free advertising.
Yeah, that's exactly... what's going down with the Brazilians. So at 145 pounds...
the Tapology for people that I said free advertising. It wasn't to Brazil. I was like, it's not just going to sit on Tapology.
At 145 pounds, we had what should have been the co-main event, and Alexander Volkanovski coming in against Jose Aldo. Again, having Aldo here picked in a decision, both of us thinking the veteranship of Aldo was going to come through, hoping that leg... striking game was going to come in, and it really didn't. He hasn't kicked those legs for a long time, and he didn't hear, and Volkanovski just stayed in Aldo's face. I mean, Aldo held the center ring for that first round, but Volkanovski, as the second round and third round came about, I mean, it was amazing head movement by both of these guys. I can't remember the round. I will say I gave Volkanovski all 3 rounds, even on my verdict. Volkanovski won this fight the whole time, had higher strike output, landed harder shots, just really flustered Aldo in all the areas. Aldo will still beat many other fighters in here, but Volkanovski...
I just have to tell you these numbers because they're so drastically different.
They're so bad.
I too gave it to Volkanovski.
And you had Aldo winning a decision as well.
And I had Aldo, but it was just, it was a display. It makes me, it's like part of me wants to be like, woo, Aldo's over. But no, I just think Volkanovski's that high level. The numbers of total strikes, Aldo, 39 of 90.
Total strikes, she landed.
Total strikes, 39 of 90. Volkanovski, 129 of 215.
Wow.
That is so crazy. Significant strikes, 29 of 79 for Aldo. 95 of 176 for Alexander Volkanovski. Also crazy. And then significant strikes, that would be 53%. The only thing I have to say, and I'm going to let you get all into this, the only real credit that I have to give Aldo is for going against a now monster that I know Volkanovski is. Holy hell, the guy's takedown defense.
You're not going to get minus money on Volkanovski again, probably even. I mean, he's the number one. Because Aldo was the number one contender now. So it's going to be Volkanovski against Holloway. Again, that city kickboxing team. Adesanya's coming out of there. Is it Shane Young? Maybe he's just out of the region. There's a couple other guys coming out of that city kickboxing scene. I think Kaikar France. But people you got to watch out for because, again, they're all well-rounded. It's one of these gyms.
Hooker,
there it is. One of these gyms that... for years to come, we're going to be like, oh, remember when they hit on the scene? Because they're just going to keep pumping out beasts. They obviously show that they bring out well-rounded fighters, not just striking kickboxers. They bring out takedown defense, scrambling ability, just thinkers as well in there. They're not brawlers. Every single guy coming out of that kickboxing, city kickboxing, thinks on their feet and adapts. So they're training them to view the fight as a whole.
I'm going to say something controversial that would have gotten more heat a little while ago, and I don't think it will so much now, but Alexander Volkanovski is kind of what I always wanted TJ Dillashaw to be. It's like what he's doing right now and his skill set. It's kind of what I always hoped for TJ. I think his hands look good. I think he has super fast footwork. I think he's super well rounded where his takedowns are just as dangerous as his punches. And it's like he has all the skill set. So far still testing clean and the age to really make a play. I know it's a heavier division, but it's that kind of just a super well-rounded guy. And to see it displayed, he'd have to have a dancing partner like Aldo. And it's what I used to hope for TJ. He's like a scorned hero for me. Whereas now I'm like, ooh, I love Volkanovski. I love what I saw in
against
there.
Max Holloway, who do you love more? Because that's the next fight.
Max.
Coin flip that, Mo. I'm going to say Max as well, but wow. Interesting fight all of a sudden what that is. Because, I mean, he just took out the number one ranked guy. There's no way that he doesn't have Max next, regardless of when it's at. What I loved at the end overall, he was getting booed, all that stuff.
I have to disagree. I think there's not only... I think there's this looming Brian Ortega that I think Volkanovski has to go against first.
Interesting.
Max has lost twice to...
At 55, though.
No. I'm sorry. Aldo has lost twice to Max in a row. That sets him further back to me.
But he beat Moicano and Stevens, who they would have got the shot if they beat Aldo. The fact that Aldo kept fighting again is because...
I just think Brian Ortega is still up there. I just think he is still in the way of Max.
But I mean, I think that's a pretty easy fight to look at. If you really look at Ortega, Volkanovski, who are you picking right now? Volkanovski, right?
I don't know. It's that same kind of idea of who would win of Khabib versus Tony Ferguson. It's that same kind of idea of jiu-jitsu wrestling at its highest levels, in a way.
But I feel like it's a lot like Max versus Ortega, where Volkanovski pieces up Ortega because Ortega's just that far behind on striking.
I don't think... I'm almost weary on what Ortega's people are going to do, but then you also have the looming question that neither of us have said a word about, which is so fucking unfair. What about Frankie Edgar here in this whole equation as well?
He's lost to Aldo. I mean, he can't fight Aldo again.
But he's just been sitting at the top of this echelon that he's not getting the fights that he needs to get the money fight. I just think this, because of what Max is doing and how he just went up to fight, if the UFC is going to do right by Max, they just got to give him a little bit of time here, where I actually think Volkanovski's kind of fresh off this fight. He looks so good.
Yeah, he didn't get touched at all.
That I feel like he could have a minimal amount of time and they could stack another card with a guy who's also fresh, like Brian Ortega or Frankie Edgar, for Volkanovski. I don't know. I also might be just protecting my Max Holloway from Alexander Volkanovski because the islands are giving the run. Giving the run out there.
Who are you, or where are you going with Jose Aldo from this point on? Because, I mean, it was a one-sided fight, but he still held his own.
If he's going to fight the King of Rio, he becomes, I think Anderson Silva should retire, and Jose Aldo becomes that guy that fights 3-round fights and is like third. He always is on the main card, but he's not quite.
He fights a Clay Guida next.
Yeah, I think Clay Guida might be 10 pounds heavier, but of the same vein.
Exactly, older guys now.
I felt like I kind of agree with Connor in a way that he looked a little juiced in there, because Connor tweeted that out, like, oh no, he's on the juice again or something. I thought his body looked like old school Aldo. He didn't move like old school Aldo. Nope, that's what I saw. So I also still feel like Max Holloway, is he that much level better up, or did... And I think all these guys they're like 10%. They're the 1%ers, when I say this, so I'm no disrespect, but it's like, did Jose Aldo, did the ass whooping he took for Max Holloway twice in a row just make Max look that much more superior in a way that Jose is just not, Jose isn't moving like he used to? You know what I mean? It's just very quick. Stevens Moicano,
like he came.
But Stevens is a guy that, as much as we love Jeremy, people are like, he's chinny AF, and he comes in there with tons of brute force strength, but technique goes out the window at a certain point. Like, he is a guy that's like, I don't know. I think Volkanovski, I like everything I saw from him, and it was that much leaps and bounds above Aldo that we know he's there. Who he gets after that, whether it's Ortega, whether Edgar or Max, and I don't even care if you put all these guys on the same card so they could fill in if somebody falls out. He's ready for it. He's the top echelon of this, and it was that much level better than Aldo. So.
It was such a great fight. Such a great fight. Definitely one that you can go back.
Of Aldo and of Max.
You can go back and watch this Volkanovski Aldo fight though, and you really should watch it if you want to look at good technique, because both of these guys, again, it was such a high level fight in there IQ wise. Both of them, just the little steps and then the slips from both guys. I mean, Aldo and Volkanovski's head movement was just, unbelievable. Such a fun one. Then we went to the co-main event of the night, where we had Anderson the Spider Silva come in against Jared Cannonier and end up getting finished at the end of the first round, 4 minutes and 47 seconds. This one, I mean, not much to say other than Anderson Silva came in with a prior existing injury, said he wasn't feeling good on that knee at all, still decided to take the fight, and Cannonier said earlier on in the week, I need to get my leg kicks going in order to work. I kept saying he was at Fortis. I was wrong on that. He's at the MMA Lab, which I feel like is in the same vein as Fortis. Both of them are young and up and coming. Same with City Muay Thai. It's the new breed as much as the new fighters. It's these new gyms being like...
We love to see a hungry gym, never a thirsty one.
Exactly. Team Alpha Male. So, this one, I don't think he could have really planned for the injury. It was... Did Cannonier really flat out win this fight? I think I was giving the round to Cannonier. I don't think Anderson Silva was looking necessarily bad in there. But as soon as that knee was done, I mean, it was over. It was an inside kick directly to the knee, and Anderson could barely walk on the way out.
Oh, I hate that if you beat Anderson Silva now, people are like, oh, this is title contender.
This
is the hottest shit ever. Like, it's like Homeboy's been on a losing streak. He hasn't won a fight in a fucking decade. No, I don't know how long it's been, but it's been a grip. And everyone acts like, oh, Jared Cannonier is the next big thing. Adesanya, next big thing. All these people, next big thing. Ugh, I can't believe I went with Silva on this fight. I'm just mad at myself.
I'm not, because I thought it was still going to go to decision, and you can't predict a knee coming out or an injury by knee.
And now when you look back at the whole entire open workouts and everything, you're like, homeboy was injured that whole time. You can tell. You can look back, and you're like, even like creeping across the stage, getting his clothes back on. He was like, give me my clothes back. Give me my clothes back.
This is why we got to watch all the tape, but there has been a bit of MMA fatigue rolling in the joints. I'm just saying, it's been heavy-duty fights for a while.
And we got fights coming up.
I know. I got to get into tape study tonight, and I just started the summer term. I'm just saying, things get deep in life. And hey, amongst all this,
I was actually already thinking for the people that follow us on our Instagram at LATB_MMA, where we do all of our awesome picks and stuff. I might not even do this card and release picks because I want to get on next week so we can have them up here.
Yeah, right. You need to get ahead of the game.
Yeah, it's like, oh, when am I going to have time to do it too? So I'm not starting school, but every day is a winding road. Every day is a learning process.
Definitely is. And again, as we were saying, as much as you can't plan for a knee coming out of its socket or being injured in there, you can't plan for a slam finish. And the people on the MMA Twitter saying that told you Andrade was coming through. I saw that. Get out of here, you sons of bitches. That is the stupidest shit. I mean, yes, it's slammed. It's credible. This was a TKO finish, round number 2. Rose was out. But before that, I gave a 10-8 round.
I'm going to back you up right now.
Go ahead.
You know what it reminded me of?
What was that? Ben Askren?
Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, where it's like, told you Robbie was going to slay it, but did it. But Rose was ow. She landed on her neck in a way that hurt my heart.
In that first round, Rose, it was a 10-8 round. There was also a slam because Andrade, when she shot in for that takedown, Rose immediately went for the Kimura, and Rose held that Kimura in the first round. And then when she tried to slam her that first time, Rose actually went for the submission armbar off of that. It almost got it. And Andrade was like, ooh, a little tentative, but the crowd was quiet. Everybody was quiet except me because I was like, yeah, Rose is coming through. I mean, that jab.
Holy hell, bandage bonus, Rose Namajunas. In my opinion,
True.
Rose Namajunas, you could have put her up there in that performance that she was having against the caliber of opponent like Jessica Andrade. Of all the people, yeah, I told you she was coming through. If you would have just let that play out for all the Rose haters, Rose looked... She was Valentina Shevchenko. She was making Jessica Andrade look like Kohea.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
It was insane.
It would have been a
level.
130 point. It would have 130 points on DK.
Level. It was insane. Like the amount, as much as, if you play that fight back for me 10 times, Rose wins at 9.
Agreed.
I just don't even understand.
Agreed.
To me, that was a flash. And you guys, I even knew I was going to come in and I thought about this already. I know I'm going to get shit and people are going to say haters. I love Jessica Andrade. I think in a way she's like a distant number 2 to somebody who's so great. But what you cannot, if you can't see how much better of a martial artist that Rose Namajunas is than Jessica Andrade from the display in that octagon, then I just don't know what to tell you. Because you're like, oh, it's 5. Yeah, that was the rules by that.
Sure.
Even 10 other rule sets. Rose Namajunas wins 9 out of 10 fights. Like, she was just better everywhere. She pieced Andrade apart, and we think Andrade's danger zone. She's scary.
In that first round, Andrade's head was whipping back like Betch Correa's earlier in the night.
Power, too. Power. And foot movement, head movement. She was cutting off the cage. She was backing up. I felt like her... I can't even... There's men... I'm trying to think of a dude who just reminded me how slick her footwork looked.
Stephen Thompson.
Gosh, it was so good.
It was very boundy in and out.
It was so good. But, and then to think, a Stephen Thompson, now, like you would say, if I were to say to you, what if I could add one skill set to Stephen Thompson to make him the most dangerous version of Stephen Thompson, what would that skill set be?
Ground game.
And what does Rose have?
Yeah, she has a slick-ass ground game.
I have to tell anyone... Watch that fight. You want to see a display of like technique and you were telling him a fight previously to watch. I almost feel like don't watch that yet. You know, like don't get on this ride unless you're this tall. That's like a fight that's like, you know, it's not 101.
For although
you're not going to appreciate it right away. That's the same as this. You're not going to appreciate how great this fight is until you really understand the intricacies of UFC.
That's why we love MMA though, because everybody has a puncher's chance.
I'm sorry, yeah.
A puncher's chance, a slam chance. Everybody's got a shot. Everyone can land that knee, even if you're Pat Barry and you're all of a sudden knock Cheick Kongo down 3 times in a round. Cheick Kongo can come back with that one punch and knock you out. It's that Pat Smith where he broke his rib and threw the knockout right hand at the end. It's why we love this sport. But anyone who says they call this, and I've seen quite a few people on Twitter being like, oh, see, I knew that. Not one person I listened to or anyone online said slam KO. Nobody. Nobody. Afterwards, oh yeah, but nobody. So get out of here with that trash. Be honest, guys.
Okay, what about this though? Did you think Rose was relieved that she lost?
She said so herself.
Yeah,
she said I'm relieved.
Didn't want that weight.
What she wants to do.
Have to go back to Joanna. Said Rose didn't want that weight.
Yeah.
She said it's a lot to be the champion.
It is a lot
to be champion.
What sucks though for Rose is that she just wanted to make enough money, which this would have been, I think, her retirement fight because she would have made enough money potentially, maybe one more.
She probably still will because she's a champion, so she gets pay-per-view.
Of this, right, but she doesn't get it later on. But she still gets higher paydays now that she's been a champ. She wants to make enough money to buy a farm. And what she's not saying is, once I buy my farm, I'm retiring. But
I gotta use the restroom. It's getting long.
That's ideally what she wants to do.
I'm leaving. You're gonna have to close it out.
So remember to like and subscribe wherever you can. It was a fun one. It was a long one on the morning after. Hey, we've been trying for a long time. Thank you guys wherever you're at. Like and subscribe. Remember, we here. We doing it for you. Thank you for everything.